welcome back to Screen Preach for episode 35, right before the holidays, where we're talking about movies in the name of the God, Father, the Son, Odin, and the Holy Jedi. And today is 35. Nice number to take a break on, go into the holidays. There won't be new episodes for a couple weeks, maybe longer, I don't know. Holidays, so I figured this episode, holiday episode, and it's right there, plain and simple. What is your favorite holiday marathon to watch? Not everyone even has one, so people don't watch shit. But I mean, if you're listening to the show, you should be watching stuff, I would think. Yeah, we gotta. There's just no fucking. Holidays are already getting messed up because of this fucking virus. It's still fucking around. It's still messing shit up, man. We gotta have holidays. We can't let this coronavirus beat us, okay? We gotta have holidays with our families, alright? Alright, I'm not coming home unless there's dinners and holidays and all of it. Not, you know what I mean? Let's make sure, even if we gotta push stuff, a late Thanksgiving, whatever, holidays. Maybe I'll say it a little more in the episode. Alright, that's what I'm doing. That's the theme here, okay? This is a holiday thing. There, said it again. What is your favorite holiday marathon? Said it again. I have a few, I do I always do Harry Potter or Star Wars or Marvel or Indiana Jones or Star Trek or whatever. So yeah, I'm going to talk about one of the best written movies of the 80s, okay? And that is Raiders of the Lost Ark. Talking about it briefly. We'll make it all, movie marathon themed. And Indiana Jones is a great one. I love that one. I even like the fourth one, which is not even that. It doesn't live up to the other three, but it's still fun. Yeah, so that's what we'll be doing today. Mandalorian is still the weekly watch for me and for many others. This past episode yesterday was good. More another action-packed one. Is directed by Carl Weathers, who plays Grief Karga in the show. He directed it too, and it was really good. It was fun. It was a fun episode with a crazy kind of cliffhanger kind of thing with some little reveals, mysterious shit, like what the bad guy's up to, yeah, halfway through the season now too. Should get pretty interesting. Like I said last week, I knew they weren't going to go right to Ahsoka Tano right after that name drop, but we'll get to her soon. I mean, she's going to pop up. It probably still won't even be this week coming up. Then again, it might be, and then the last 3 episodes are all just crazy action-packed stuff going on with cool team-up stuff, and I mean, who knows? It's been a great season. If you're watching it, that's great. We all are so hyped. We keep watching it. Yeah, that's it for what I did just watch Indiana Jones, too, so. I knew I was going to watch it this week, and I said, what am I going to pick this week? And then I said, well, I'll just talk about Raiders of the Lost Ark, because it's a screenplay worth talking about, It's it's just at that level. But first, we will do the news of the week. Some good stuff this week. For instance, Marvel's Black Panther sequel is still moving forward. To begin shooting in July. Probably going to be Shuri. Makes the most sense. Shuri's going to take the mantle of the Black Panther because nothing else works. It just doesn't. You can't bring in another male actor to be the new. It just doesn't feel right, and you can't fucking recast T'Challa. It definitely doesn't feel like you can't digitally create him either. All of those things are disrespectful to to Boseman and to the role and to the story and everything. It's just they're gonna do Shuri. They're gonna how they write off T'Challa. Still very tough, very very delicate situation. See how they do. It's moving forward. Um, Channing Tatum teams up with Phil Lord and Chris Miller. Lord and Miller are good filmmakers. They did the Lego movies, and they were supposed to do the Han Solo movie. They didn't end up doing it, but they're good, and they're doing this movie. They're doing a monster movie with Channing Tatum. So Universal's monster movies continue. We've had developments with this throughout the year here. James Wan's doing one. Ryan Gosling's going to be the Wolfman. They have plans here, and here's more news on monster movies from Universal. Channing Tatum, Phil Lord, Chris Miller teaming up for one of them. I am excited for those movies if they're done as good as The Invisible Man was done. If they're as inventive as that was, creative as that was, then yeah, I'm on board. Chris Hemsworth says that they're planning multiple sequels for Extraction on Netflix. So remember way back when I did an episode on that movie, fun movie, like thrill movie, like action. You know, if you're into that stuff, that's a fun movie. And I mentioned then that they were doing a sequel, but Chris Hemsworth has confirmed they're going to be trying to do multiple sequels. So like I said then too, it's going to be like a new Bourne, Mission Impossible type series with Chris Hemsworth as the hero. This was cool. Deadpool 3. Official. Now it's official, baby. Deadpool 3 has been confirmed at Marvel Studios with the Bob's Burgers writers doing the movie. Ryan Reynolds is returning. Of course, this will be very, very fun. It will still be R-rated, and Disney is... Thank God they're taking that leap. They're moving into that direction. They're going to have a branch of film R-rated. Deadpool will be tied to the MCU all of a sudden, assuming that we start to learn how they're planning on doing that. Probably multiverse. But either way, right off the bat when that movie starts, Deadpool, he's going to have some... Wade Wilson will have some wisecracks about how he's part of this branch now. You know the jokes are coming about all the deals that went through and how he's part of the same family as the Avengers and stuff. The wisecracks, I can already picture it. It's going to be great. I still like that idea, by the way. Someone said it way back. Deadpool should be like the new Stan Lee character. He should pop up in every movie quickly, like for one scene. Like that would be so great. They're not gonna. I don't know. They're not gonna. Probably not taking that direction. But that would be cool if they did that. That would be funny. He pops in for a second, makes a joke, leaves. I don't know. Coming to America sequel, which is titled Coming to America, but not Coming to America, Coming to America with a 2. That's the sequel. It is officially set to release in March of 2021, right on Amazon Prime. Straight to streaming. That's their release plan for the sequel to Coming to America, Eddie Murphy's old comedy that was just quite fun and funny. They're doing it. There was new posters and a trailer for Chaos Walking. I threw this up on Instagram. It looks like an interesting film. Could totally suck. It looks weird. Go watch the trailer. But it stars Tom Holland and Daisy Ridley. Spider-Man and Rey Skywalker teaming up for a movie. Looks weird. It just looks weird. It's based on a book. They're either going to do it right or they're not. But it looks interesting. It's something I'll see. I'll watch it. Unless it's... I'll watch it either way. I'll watch it. I'll probably talk about it too. So check out that trailer. Wonder Woman 1984. This was big news this week. This was the biggest thing. People, this is their plan. So for Wonder Woman, it's the Wonder Woman sequel. They are dropping it in theaters and on HBO Max. So you have an option to go to the theater or to watch it at home. I would assume the rollout plan is similar to how Netflix does it. Probably theaters first for like a month and then out on HBO Max. Not 100% sure, but we'll get more details on it, I'm sure. Or maybe they already gave details and I forgot to read those details, so now I'm not giving you the information that I'm supposed to be giving to you. But yeah, two options. That's four. Two options for Wonder Woman 1984. And that is in this coming month, by the way. They're not waiting any longer. It's coming out around Christmas. The Scream reboot gets an official title as production begins, or Scream reboot gets official title as production wraps. So they filmed that whole movie already. Interesting. Even during this whole thing, they were able to film the movie, and it is done, wrapped. And they titled it Scream. Just Scream. So yeah, it's definitely something of a reboot. I'm curious about it. You got the old writers from the first one doing this one. I mean, who knows? Maybe it's gonna be good. Got all the old cast back, but they'll probably be in. I don't know. They gotta play the same characters, right? It doesn't make. It wouldn't make. Is it a reboot? It says reboot, but I don't know. If you got the old characters in it, it's still more like a sequel, isn't it? Not a reboot. Yeah. Terrence Winter exits the Batman TV spinoff on HBO Max. I talked about this earlier episodes. The Batman is doing a Gotham PD TV series. TVMA, like gritty, R-rated, whatever you want to call it, on HBO Max. David Chase is involved for The Sopranos creator. Terrence Winter was involved. I wasn't sure if he was. I thought it was just David Chase. But yeah, now he's not involved. He's leaving it. Terrence Winter's great. He did Boardwalk Empire. He wrote Wolf of Wall Street. He was a writer on The Sopranos. He's good. He's not going to be involved. But there's still some very good creative minds behind that show, and we'll see how they do. Including Matt Reeves himself will be involved. The guy who's directing the Batman movie. Yeah, so that's some update there. Quentin Tarantino is set to write a Once Upon a Time in Hollywood novel. Actually, he sets a 2-book HarperCollins deal, and it's supposed to be a sort of reimagining, I guess, of the film he just did. So, this is new. Tarantino writing novels. I always thought he would head to TV after movies. He still will, I'm sure. He's got ideas for like a Star Trek thing, and he's gonna be Tarantino. What he gives us in the coming decades, yeah, it should be interesting because he's gonna do his 10th film at some point, and then he'll be done with his films because that's what he always said. He was gonna make 10 and then be done and move on to other things, TV, novels. I'm definitely reading these when they come out. I mean, go read his screenplays. They're already novelistic. The way he writes screenplays, they're so long and detailed and everything. These novels should be fun to read. That's interesting stuff. What else happened this week? Sylvester Stallone has joined the Suicide Squad. Stallone and James Gunn reunite. They work together on Guardians Volume 2. Stallone, I guess, will be playing a character in the Suicide Squad. But that is it for news of the week. Some interesting stuff, like I said. Also, The Last of Us, the TV series at HBO that Craig Mazin from Chernobyl is doing, has officially been ordered to series. So it will be a full season when it comes out, and that should be interesting. let's get to it. Let's talk about it. Our analysis this week. Let's do Raiders of the Lost Ark. Because it is a classic. It is a fun, well put together film that I love it. I watch it. I'll watch it over and over again till I die. Besides, you know what a cautious fella I am. So right off the bat, the one thing you need to know about Raiders of the Lost Ark is that it is one of the best written films. It truly is. The screenplay, which was written by Lawrence Kasdan, is damn near perfect. It's top 5 screenplays of all time, in my opinion. Of course, you can argue this, but I wouldn't, because I know what I'm talking about. Come on. Kasdan is a long-time collaborator with George Lucas and Steven Spielberg. He wrote many films, including Star Wars, the second one, Empire Strikes Back, and I think Return of the Jedi. But in terms of what a screenwriter's masterpiece is, I like to think every screenwriter gets one, not just directors. Directors get a masterpiece. I think screenwriters get one. I think this is Lawrence Kasdan's masterpiece. Of course, you can argue it because of Empire Strikes Back, but I think Raiders of the Lost Ark is probably his masterpiece. Right off the bat, our hero is introduced perfectly to us. He's doing what he does best right in the opening sequence. The entire opening. It sets up him, and it sets up the antagonist, Belloc, who we quickly see is similar to Indiana Jones. In fact, they parallel each other so perfectly that it's brought up during the film that they are so similar. They are two opposing forces, which is what a protagonist and antagonist should be. These colliding forces that are very similar to each other. Belloc basically is the embodiment of all Jones isn't, right? He's everything Jones is not willing to do. They are both after the same things, but our hero's moral code keeps him from becoming like Belloc, whose code is much less righteous, right? He's willing to do whatever it takes, even bad things, to get what he wants. This little difference is why Belloc manages to stay steps ahead of Jones. It's also the only way he's able to beat Jones on multiple occasions. Because if he didn't allow Indiana to do all the hard work for him, he'd never achieve anything, right? He'd never be right there to steal whatever Jones risked his life to obtain. It's even right away, the first line between them. So, Dr. Jones, again we see there is nothing you can possess which I cannot take away. Belloc even mentions how similar they are in one scene, and how it would only take a nudge to push you out of the light. He says this to Jones. It's just great writing. It sets up the stakes, and the character flaws that will come back to play a role in the end. This is all in the opening sequence. Jones and his fear of snakes, opening sequence. Of course, comes back around in a big way in the end of the movie, or at the middle of the movie. The fact that Belloc has no limitations is precisely why he would never practice caution, this very same caution that would have saved him the way it saved Indiana and Marion. I think one of my favorite things about the film is when Indiana says early on how he doesn't believe in magic or superstitious hocus pocus. Okay, he says this early on. He even says in that same moment, you know what a cautious fella I am. This lines up perfectly with the end. It plays a big role at the end of the film because it ends up being magic and superstitious hocus pocus to an extent, right? And his caution is the only thing that saves him. But I think the twist is not so much what the Ark does, it's how Jones reacts to the situation. He tells Marion, don't look at it, just keep your eyes shut. It's great writing because while we may see what the Ark does, Jones doesn't actually get to see what it does. As if securing his philosophies and beliefs, he can go on saying that he doesn't believe in magic and hocus pocus superstitions because he didn't actually see anything that would change his mind about that. That's just clever writing, dude. Perhaps seeing it would have tainted his very character. Perhaps that would have been the nudge that pushes him out of the light and destroys his caution, which saved him in the first place. You see how this all comes around? He wouldn't, this way he gets to continue to be Indiana Jones, the hero that we know and love. It's just goddamn great writing. Um, I mean, seriously. And then there's the two movies after it. I'll talk about them briefly. The plot points are as straightforward as ever. Our introduction is simple. It introduces everything it's supposed to. Our inciting action isn't until he actually gets his calling, right, his mission, which is to go after the Lost Ark. The true start is when he teams up with Marion and gets the artifact from her that he needs. I could talk about how Marion is used as an archetypal character, conventional, but maybe that's a conversation for another time. I mean, she's basically used by all the male characters in the movie. Even Jones himself has a purpose for her in every instance. The difference, of course, is that he actually cares about her while the other male characters don't. It made the midpoint an interesting one, right? She's believed to be dead by not only Indiana, but by us. We actually thought she died in that explosion. When he finds her alive, what's the first thing he does? He keeps her tied up where he finds her. He actually does the action of tying her back up, not just for her safety, but for the protection of his goal, as to not be detected, which he literally says in the scene. The down and out is our snake pit sequence when it looks like they're going to die. There's a big character decision at the start of Act 3. Jones could have destroyed the Ark to save Marion, but he interestingly chose fate, right? He let fate play out. He let it happen. He wanted to see, right? Belloc says it. He desires to see it open just as much as he does. And ironically enough, his caution steps in and he doesn't get to see it. Temptation is a strong urge. It's a strong theme. And in this case, temptation destroys the bad guys. Jones knows his limitations, and that's what saves his life in the climax. It's what separates him from the bad guys. My overall opinion is clear on this. I've said it multiple times here. It is a masterful film because it's masterful writings, right? It's masterful writing moments. But besides that, the tones, the genre, the themes that are proposed, all that make it that much more fun to watch. I love every little beat of this movie, including things like some of the one-liners. My favorite moment in the movie is when the dramatically skilled swordsman comes to face Jones after he just dramatically beat up a bunch of guys. Jones's reaction is simply to shoot the skilled swordsman and be done with the fight. I love that fucking beat. I laugh every time it happens. It's just great. I love it. There's a bunch of moments like that in this movie and the two films that follow it. That's why we watch it. The story is it's just also one that plays with a lot of famous cinematic tropes, like this classic MacGuffin concept, right? Men chasing obtainable objects. It's almost very neo-noir in that regard, or whatever I don't know if that's the correct term for this, but most of all, it's an adventure, and adventures are, in my opinion, the most everlasting of stories that we get to consume. It's harder to get tired of great adventure movies. It takes longer to forget them. It's why we love films like Star Wars or Marvel or Harry Potter, because they grab us in a way that other films don't, and it's why they're just much more everlasting, those stories. They're constantly revisited by fans more than anything else. Indiana Jones is no different. I got a quick director mention here because you can almost forget sometimes that it's Spielberg, right? When you team up George Lucas, just Spielberg's filmography is so varied. It's crazy sometimes. Look, this is George Lucas and Spielberg, right? And Lawrence Kasdan. When you team them up, you're going to get pure gold here. Indiana Jones will always be the Spielberg adventure epic, like Star Wars was for George Lucas. Considering the filmmaker we've come to know Spielberg to be, it's incredible when thinking that he made these movies at all. It's amazing, actually. This guy did Jaws, Jurassic Park, E.T., Schindler's List, Saving Private Ryan. I mean, the list goes on. And to think that he did Indiana Jones, sometimes I forget I forget because it feels like a George Lucas production. It's definitely like a star. It's got that feel. It's definitely George Lucas. You can feel, but Spielberg, you kind of, and it's just it's fantastic. I think Spielberg, his filmography is probably the most has the most variety of any filmmaker. I think, in my opinion. Um, you could argue this is his masterpiece too. You could argue that, but it's not. I mean I don't. Jaws, Schindler's List. There's just it's too. I don't know. I don't think so, but you could argue it. Um, I love the third one, The Last Crusade. I love that one. The Temple of Doom is great, but it's for me it's Raiders, Last Crusade, then Temple, then Crystal Skull, shit, whatever that fourth one. Um, just to add in the fact that George Lucas was making Star Wars and working on this at the same time, it's crazy. Like Empire Strikes Back came out, and then all of a sudden this came out, and it was just it must have. I can't imagine being around then, and like it must have been so fun for fans. And then Return of the Jedi, and then Temple of Doom. It's I mean, and George Lucas, he played a huge role in this. He wrote the story for these films. He didn't do the screenplays, but he did the story. It's his idea. Don't ever underestimate George Lucas, man. Maybe he's not the greatest. Maybe he's not a great director, but he's a great storyteller. And he said I'm sure he was like, we need our Han Solo character for this. We need our hero like that. We need a cool motherfucker, right? We need Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford, performance mention. I can't picture anybody else. Harrison Ford, when he did this, I mean, after Star Wars and then he did this, he's the coolest motherfucker since Clint Eastwood or fucking Sean Connery. It's great. Sean Connery, by the way, plays his father in the third one, The Last Crusade. That's a great one. Definitely watch the original Indiana Jones trilogy. They're just fun. They're just fun. Yeah, I don't know. Let's wrap it up. Wrap it up, wrap it up, wrap it up. Rack 'em up, rack 'em up, rack 'em up, rack 'em up. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah. My rating of Raiders of the Lost Ark, 9.6. It's amazing. I love it. I love to read the screenplay. I love to watch the movie. 9.6. Let's do our fun fact of the week. Let's keep it all with the holiday marathon movies, right? Did you know that the original ending to Return of the Jedi saw Luke Skywalker turn evil? No joke. Star Wars ends on a happy note, right? But it has since been confirmed that that wasn't the original idea. In early story meetings, George Lucas considered a much darker ending. He pitched his original idea to co-writer Lawrence Kasdan, saying Luke takes Vader's mask off, and then Luke puts it on and says, "Now I am Vader." Surprise, the ultimate twist, now I will go and kill the Rebel fleet, and I will rule the universe. Kasdan even said that he liked that ending. But in the end, ultimately, George Lucas eventually decided to stick with a lighter ending, feeling that was a bit too dark and out of character for Luke's story arc. Probably a good idea, considering Star Wars was pretty heavily directed towards kids as an audience. Interesting. There's a lot of really cool facts about Star Wars, but I saw this one, and I knew it, but maybe you didn't, so I talked about it. There's another one I like about like how there's Godfather connections in the first Star Wars, because like George Lucas was friends with Spielberg, but he was also good friends with Francis Ford Coppola. I'll do that fact later on at another episode. Question of the week. Let's follow up on last week first. Our Disney one. Remember? I asked, what are the top Disney movies? I said Avengers Endgame. And guess what? Avengers Endgame was number 2. What was number 1? Doesn't surprise me at all. Makes perfect sense. The original Lion King is the unanimously thought of as best Disney movie. Then Avengers Endgame. Then followed by a lot of Pixar, right? Which makes sense. What I was confused about was why Wall-E was number 3. Wall-E is above Toy Story? Toy Story is number 4? Really? More people like Wall-E? I don't know about that. Then Monsters Inc., Avengers Infinity War is number 6. It's a very fun and interesting list. That list is, there's a lot. Like, top 10's interesting. Yeah. Yeah. This week's questions, it's the whole theme of the episode. What is your favorite holiday movie marathon? I'll leave you with that. You can comment on Instagram or on YouTube. What is it? I'm curious what other people watch every holiday season. Maybe some people like have their things that they like to watch at the holidays. You know, for Harry Potter, I usually do it at Thanksgiving and Christmas, but people like to do that at Halloween, which makes sense too. It was always my Christmas thing. I don't know why. Yeah, that's the question I wanted. Let's do our movie quote of the week. Remember what the theme of the episode is. A word of caution. They are vicious creatures. They do not distinguish between the one they hunt and the one who gets in their way. Therefore, I must warn each and every one of you, give them no reason to harm you. For it is not in their nature to be forgiving. But you know, happiness can be found even in the darkest of times, when one only remembers to turn on the light. Name that movie, holiday marathon theme. Go. All right, good episode. This week on Caught My Attention, saw a couple of interesting things. First, the Air Force is planning to put laser guns, like from Star Wars, I guess, on fighter jets. Okay. And I guess Listerine mouthwash can kill the coronavirus now? In your saliva? Cool, let's add another fucking thing to the list that can kill the virus that's not very helpful to us. How about releasing a vaccine? And, you know, if you're closing everything down, how about sending some money? You know, just basic human things to help us out. Alrighty then. B-E-A-U, TiVo. I am your host, and you know my name because I say it every friggin' week. You can follow me at Dubenji. Follow the show at Screen Preach. Subscribe to BMS Studios. Check out my website, benmorgantistory.com. I'm going to throw up a couple of my other shorts, too. I've been throwing up my short stories on the website. I'll throw up a few of my... I have a bunch. I'll throw up some more. They're all there to read. The short stories are in full. The features and TV shows are previews, but if you want the whole thing, you can contact me. The contact is right there on the website, too. Yeah. Really want to support the show? Become a patron at patreon.com/benmorganti. I will let you have the episodes early. There's a shirt thing in there somewhere for you, too. Maybe a hat. I don't know. Have a cinematic week. Have a cinematic holiday season. Enjoy your holidays. Let's have a good holiday season. even with this shit going on. Just, best wishes to everybody.